Tell him you know where his kids go to school.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel. We're a podcast about games, anime, life, entertainment, a little bit of everything in between. Now, with me today is the man with the hit in Hitman Silent Assassin, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
Pretty good. Um, I don't know what you mean by that. The man with the hit in Hitman Silent Assassin.
Well, Silent Assassin, I've told you the story before about how working at GameStop, whenever you print out the receipt for Hitman 2 Silent Assassin, it just comes out as Silent Ass. Uh,
Oh,
which
I
But also,
forgot.
now that you're a new VR owner, one of the biggest games people have been wishing for PS or to come over from the PSVR one. I did mention this to you a while ago, but it was a while. So is the Hitman game. The 1, 2, and 3 of the new series is all playable in VR but it's only the PSVR one. So it's been over a year now since PSVR 2's been out, and it's still no word. But fingers are still always crossed for that to come over because it's actually really good. And well, you like the original game as much as you do, so I was it's like it was one of those things that is a game that pretty much it just needs to be out for you for sure.
I have seen that in some of my looking around at PlayStation Store and then on Steam as well. So maybe after we get that dongle, then then I can get it on because I already have part of it. I think I'd have to rebuy it or something like that because it's confusing and how to buy it now because they had it at Hitman 3 and when it came out a couple years ago and then they re-released it, but they call it Hitman
Is it the
Hitman
World of Assassins or something like that?
World of Assassination, and it's bundled with everything, but it's still confusing and it's just really irritating. So I do want to get Hitman 3 just in general. And I do want to play it. I do want to try it on VR as well. It might just end up being the easiest way to do that on Steam after the dongle comes out, but we shall see. We shall see. But yeah, I do the hits in the Hitman. I am
Uh,
the hit man. Uh,
Yes, and I'm your host, Joe, and we are totally not recording this for the second time due to technical issues. So let's hope that they stay away for the rest of the show. But yeah, other than that, how have you been since last we casted?
Pretty good. So right as we were finishing the podcast last time, you may have noticed that I was starting to I was sniffling a little bit, um, and that continued to progress and get worse. So after the podcast, I think I started to edit it or whatever, and then I started letting it render, and went over and played a game and noticed that it was just getting worse and worse. So we recorded earlier in the day. So it was like, this is like 7, 8 o'clock now. And I was like, I think I'm getting sick. So I took a NyQuil and I went to sleep and I slept for 11 hours. And I had a really hard time getting around and doing anything. And there was some chores I had to do because my parents were out of town and they wanted me to drop off this check or whatever. And it was very hard. I slept for a really long time and it was still really hard to make myself do anything. So I just did that and then came back and could play video games pretty well, but I couldn't really do very much else. So I did get a lot of time in on video games, on game in particular I'll talk about later. But and then it kind of continued on a Sunday, and then I felt pretty much. I mean, I was just tired. And then Monday I got up, and so your routine whenever you're going to work or whenever, or you get up, and it takes you like maybe 5 seconds or whatever, 10 seconds, because you're newly awake and you don't want to be. to get up and then go into the bathroom and start getting ready. Well, I woke up and I sat up for probably like 3 or 4 minutes, and I was like, I can get up and go in there, but I just don't really want to at all. And I was like, I'll be okay. So I got to work, and my boss came in from his vacation, and he was like, "You sound terrible." And I was like, "I think I'm gonna go home." And I went home and slept a whole bunch more. And then finally on Tuesday, I was pretty much okay again. Um, but yeah, so uh, not the best weekend. Not I was after that first night, though I didn't have any more sniffles. I was just like dead tired. So maybe COVID. I don't know, but just in case, I made sure to cough in everyone's coffee.
All
Uh,
right. Yeah. Share the love. Dead to the world. All right.
just doing my part. How have you been, Joe?
Busy, tired. Yeah, the idea of getting 11 hours sleep is just crazy. I would settle for 6. That'd be amazing. 6 solid hours uninterrupted. That'd be just yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
no, we had some family over the last weekend, and then there was also there's these events now that it's funny because I don't know how long they've been going for, but it's since I've had kids, I've noticed them. There's called Touch a Truck event, where like the local a lot of different cities do this, but like their local municipality, it's a good way to show um, all the vehicles you have in your fleet, whether it be like the snowplow, garbage truck, police vehicles, different medical vehicles and stuff like that, and the kids get to just touch them and climb into them and stuff like that. I'm like, wow, post COVID world, you think that they'd be a little more uh sanitary, but it's just like, no, kids, have fun, mingle, create the super virus.
No, you guys are a battleground state.
Yeah. Well, then it's just like, well, we found out that our son, one of his like school friends, was going to be there, and it was like the first time we've had like an outing where we met, like it was the kids got to play, and so the parents got to meet each other. So like we've seen each other before, but we've never actually hung out, so this is a first. And they're like, yeah, first for us too. I'm like, yeah, COVID kind of messed everything up. Like the people that you'd usually try to have your kids hang out more often, but
Play
thanks
dates
to
and
that,
stuff.
you're like, we can't hang out and we can't even see each other's faces forever. And post, we're like, well, it's a little awkward now to try to it's just like, but the kids are getting older, so we're just like, yeah, let's and it's funny because like the other kid's dad and wore a nerd shirt, and I wore my nerd shirt. So like that's like good way to size each other up. The kids talk about how like the things that they're watching or into. So the other kid likes Transformers. My kid likes Godzilla. So we're like, okay, we think we have enough Venn diagram overlap that like you guys are okay. You don't seem
The,
like oppressive parents. You don't seem like you're uptight,
the
for sure.
giant
And like,
giant things. You're into giant stuff. Okay. Both of your kids are into giant stuff.
I mean, it's just what's wrong with the mechs and monsters, man. So
Mechs and monsters. See, there you already got a podcast. Kids can just
there you go.
smash their action figures together, and you can
If
exploit
we
them
want to
on
be a triple
YouTube.
threat, you have them unbox there. You'll have them open from an Amazon box or something, or from whomever. We can get sponsorships later. Have them open a surprise to see what they find, how they react. Then they can open those that packaging, and really all the collectors out there will send their hate mail. Uh,
Well, you buy
and then
two.
from there, the kids can continue to smash and destroy. We'll see if it like can it be cut, and then we'll just take it through like a table saw, a miter saw, or like can it be smashed and just let them go with a hammer, just crush it. Um,
Uh, yeah, I
can
mean,
it survive
well,
the
I mean,
campfire?
really, you just make it all a tax write-off, and you buy two, and you let the kid open one, and then you leave one in the box to sell on stock exchange later for a lot more money, or just hoard it forever until you're
We'll have a figure for each episode, and so that'll be like the catalog, as if having VHS, but or something like a card catalog of your previous episodes. You're like, no, here's the box of action figures, and you can tell by which figure it is what episode that they did. Um, yeah. Anyways, no, the kids had a good time. It was pretty awesome. This year was in a different location and in the town. And like the previous year, they just had all the engines cut and they made sure that none of the horns could be hit. But then this year, they completely forgot to do that. So once someone hit a horn, and then other people would hit a horn, and then it's like
Oh
it
no.
started becoming Morse code back and forth almost. Like
Chain
someone would hit a
reaction.
rhythm and someone else would hit. Yeah, it was just like, all right, this is way the heck louder than last time. But it's still a good time. Kids had fun, and yeah, that was the weather's now finally starting to get good, but like we had to hunker down in the beginning of the week for tornadoes and stuff. So it's like
Mm.
my daughter was just unconscious to the world, and so like, okay, cool, you're sleeping through it. That's good. My son's like, what's that? I'm like, that's an air siren. It's like, is there? It's like, is it a fire truck? No, that's not a fire truck. There's a fire. I'm like, no, there's no fire, dude.
We gotta talk
But
about
yeah,
this thing called tornadoes.
yeah,
Uh,
it's like we're downstairs. We have you set up just like camping, buddy. Just go to sleep. You're fine.
that is something I didn't really understand. I mean, I knew other parts of the world didn't have tornadoes really, but I didn't really understand until I moved out of the central part of the United States, south, that a lot of other parts of the world don't really have like thunderstorms, like in like apparently in California, it obviously doesn't really rain that much, but like in Hawaii, we didn't really have thunderstorms. We had tropical storms, and that was a big deal that would come through. But like on like the West Coast, apparently they don't really have much. Like even like San Francisco area, they don't really have much in the way of thunderstorms. Just like storms that roll in and wreck house and lightning and really hard rain and wind and stuff. Just not really a thing. And a lot of other parts of the world, even in like China, didn't really have that very often. Of course, they have hurricanes and stuff or typhoons and stuff. So a little bit still the same there. But um, anyway, yeah. And tornadoes, pretty rare in a lot of other parts of the world. I think in China, they have some out in the western part of China. But
Well, I was gonna
yeah,
say, yeah, they have such a large land mass that there's probably a bunch in certain areas, but they're probably also not that populated
yeah,
compared to the Midwest. And yeah, it's something that having worked in insurance in a previous time, having to deal with people out in like Florida or whenever like hurricanes come across, I'm like, man, like I tell them I'm located in the Midwest, and they're like, I'm like, yeah, it stinks dealing with the hurricanes and stuff. Like, he goes, yeah, but tornadoes are way worse, and like at least we know ours is coming and we can prepare for it. And then those who stick around are idiots, and that's up to them. But like,
yeah,
you don't know when a tornado is gonna happen. Like, yeah, good point. Yeah, we can't. It doesn't matter if you board up your windows or not for a tornado. If the tornado wants to wreck house, it's going to wreck house.
yeah.
You can't
Just
sandbag your way out of that one. So
no, you cannot. And they'll touch down, and then you're just effed. Uh,
yeah, there was quite a few touchdowns uh around is the best way for me, but like we weren't in immediate danger, but those sirens went off for a while, and it's just like, yeah, it's typical life here. So it's not a big surprise. um so we got lucky. I know other people were not as much, so but it's one of those things that where you go to live, you're going to have your issues. We're not going to have earthquakes, actually, but thunderstorms, like I said, it's Japan was similar. You rarely got actual rolling thunderstorms. It was like lightning,
yeah,
or at least in where we were in central Japan. So that was always unique, just to be like, oh, dude, we're having thunder right now. It's actually really cool compared for here. So yeah. Well, like I said, this week you said we got quite a bit of news for us. So why don't you start us off?
yeah. Not any really huge stories, but a couple stories here that I think are pretty interesting. Um, Leading here today is the FTC basically saying we told you so about Xbox or about Xbox Game Pass price hike. Um, and they have, I read the article in Video Games Chronicle, and they're like, we told you this is exactly what would happen once they merged. They're doing all this anti-consumer stuff. And I mean, I kind of want your opinion on this because I don't really think that they're wrong, the FTC, but I'm also like, I'm also like that they're trying to be competitive. Like Microsoft is trying to be competitive, and they are kind of behind for how much they've spent versus how much they've made. You know, with Xbox and stuff like that, they have some ground to make up. I think in a lot of ways, but at the very and in probably the way that matters most to their shareholders is in the actual like how much revenue and money they're bringing in. Um, so like I thought that the Game Pass price hikes and changes were pretty reasonable. I'm still not going to buy them. At least not. I'm not going to dedicate myself to buying them. And they'll be the first things out after I do kind of get in on that. But I don't know. Like I just kind of I'm kind of like yeah, I see what you're saying, FTC, but I feel like it's not really there yet. It could get there, um, but I really don't see like a monopolistic um, these moves as being monopolistic or antitrust when you compare them to the success of Sony and Nintendo and just like Steam, PC games in general, Epic, all those other ones that they're smaller competitors that they are, you know, kind of trying to compete against. So anyway, what do you think about this? Do you think that the FTC has has a point here?
Um, so other than what you've told me, I actually don't. I actually haven't seen anything about the whole what else FTC had to say about this. What I can say is I can kind of argue both points. One is, like if you defend, Microsoft or Xbox in this case, uh, they're not the only ones who are increasing their prices on services. I
Yeah.
mean, now it's a little harder for them to do, and it's a little harder to justify in a certain way because unlike Netflix, which Netflix has ingrained itself into everyone's house already, and it's already a part of their daily life. So every time they price hike it, everyone's just going to have to take it on the chin because most people can't really seem to do without it. You have Amazon for a lot of people who, if those prices increase on that, they're like, well, it's okay because I'm also getting the benefit. It's like Prime is just okay. It's not, or the streaming service is just okay. I'm also doing it mostly for the free two-day shipping.
Yeah.
So that those things add up and justify because you're getting more out of it, on different matters. PlayStation increased their price, so it's not uncommon. It's just the way it is. I mean, you inflation, everything and everyone is increasing prices. Um, so yeah, when like everyone saw it coming because after you spent that much on Activision and Blizzard, what else were you going to do? Was it a smart thing to do? I probably say no. I'm actually less interested now. My Game Pass just expired, and looking at trying to renew it, I found out you can't actually go through Microsoft and renew for 1 year. It is physically impossible to go directly through them. What you have to do is you have to go to like your local uh, your retail store, and buy a 6 month or 1 year card, and then you can renew it and you can add that card. But they just do not on their website sell a year of Xbox Ultimate or Game Pass Ultimate. They just don't do it.
Oh, do you have to
It's
like get
ridiculous.
you can get it like month to month or like a couple
That's
months
what
at a
they
time?
want you to do. It's month. They want
Uh,
you to do month to month because they know that that's more expensive, and then that part is anti-consumer, and they can go after themselves for that.
yeah, that's a good
And
way
then
to
it
shoot
becomes
yourself in the foot. Like I thought they wanted you to buy a year at a time because you may not even you might use it for 2 months and then freaking forget about it, and then they don't even have to pay for your bandwidth. You know, like that's what like HBO and all those other ones do is
and
like
if you bought it directly through them, you can leave your credit card and you forget to unsubscribe it. Next thing you know, they auto charge you, next
yeah.
time around. Um, but no, they just don't allow the 1 year, which I was really upset about because I'm like, dude, this is really dumb. And then upon looking into trying to get cards and this and that, like it's become this whole logistical nightmare. And you can just go to any like Reddit or Google thread or something like that about, like people buying the core memberships, which is going to be slightly outdated with this new setup, but like you buy their core and then have it upgraded to ultimate, and then there's but there's a conversion process because it's based off dollar amount and stuff, so it's not like a one to one, but you're buying 6 months and you're getting like 80 days of ultimate, but you're buying 6 months of the core, and then people are mathing it out to come out to be like a better deal, and it's just like that's way too much effort. If I have to do that type of gymnastics for something that I don't quite care about, I'm like, it's nice to have. It really is, but I'm like, it's not necessary for my everyday life. So yeah, I just
I mean,
stopped. Like
I guess
I let my membership lapse.
I guess Call of Duty is just that big of a draw. It's just that powerful where they can go. I mean, that at least that's what they're betting on. They're where they can go. Hey, you have to buy it 1 month at a time, and we know that you
Well,
will
it's been
because
this way for a little bit, I guess. It's that thing. It's been this way already. It's not something that just happened. I just had my membership, since I had it for 3 years in advance, I purchased out. So because of that, I hadn't had to think about it, and so they changed it a while ago to make it month by month. So that's, in my opinion, is like the most anti-consumer, making it really difficult to jump through hoops to try to save money. And I mean, when it comes to what they're offering for this new price hike. Uh, I don't do uh, Blizzard games. Like, there's nothing.
yeah,
Blizzard hasn't created anything new that really made me interested in a very long time.
yeah,
And Call of Duty, I don't play multiplayer, so I will be interested in Call of Duty when it comes out. And the last handful of the Modern Warfare games, I've played each and every one of those campaigns since the reboots of 1, 2, and 3. Uh, but I don't play any of the Warzone stuff, and Warzone's free to play anyways,
yeah.
I believe. So therefore, you shouldn't need to pay for it. Uh, I think it's a bad deal, and I've like I said since then I just like a buddy and I we were playing the quarry. I was talking about before. We were very close to the end. We were like 2 chapters away, and completely forgot my membership expired. Then they're like, yeah, we can't play it. All right, let's try something else. So we just literally jumped off Xbox
Yeah, I
and
mean,
we
there's nothing there
we loaded
that makes you feel like, dang, we got to get back in on this. You know?
Yeah, nothing at this time, and when it does, we'll make the decision then to go ahead and subscribe for maybe that month. But there is nothing that really. I mean, it's funny because Microsoft, like part of their tagline for like trying to like renew was like, "Hey, you can play our great games like Halo Infinite," and we're like, no one's playing Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite was a really really sad attempt, and the fact that that's your tag like on above, hey, give us like how much you're paying for the month for whatever version of subscription.
Yeah,
Now, what I'll probably do is in the future, if I'm going to play, is instead of playing on my console, like I'll still get whatever physical games I can from the library, play it on my console. That way it saves me money, and I don't need to play it right away. And then if it's on a Game Pass for PC, I'll just end up playing it on the PC because my PC is it's a little older now, but I have a 3080, so it's still
plenty,
better than
plenty.
arguably better than the Xbox. Um, so therefore I'll just get the PC version, $12 a month, and that gets day one releases.
Yeah,
While the new bare bones, like the new Xbox console standards, I think the one is standard and one might still be core. I forget, but those are actually um, one doesn't have games, almost no games at all. And the other one is supposed to have not day one exclusives, but you get them eventually, but they don't say when you're going to get them. So once again, it's just very convoluted. Just try to push you to get the ultimate. And though I did like streaming, I thought that was fun for for certain things I did it with onto my phone. Also, not worth the extra the pricing you're paying. So chances are, if I play Game Pass again, if I renew it, I'll just do it only for my PC. But right now, just like my buddy and I just stepped away from it. That's it. We're like, all right.
yeah,
And they, essentially our group of friends that mostly plays on Steam when it comes to PC stuff, and the consoles, like we just due to a lifestyle change, we moved from PC to console, just to make it easier for us to play together. And yeah, currently we're playing First Descendant. We could play that on Xbox, but we're actually playing it on the PlayStations.
yeah.
So yeah, only for the only reason why I'm not saying it's one performs better than the other because I haven't looked that part up, but it's just because they have a better headset that works with PlayStation, and if I can hear them better, I'm like, let's play on the PlayStation, because
All for it.
their 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 setup for the Xbox has not been good, but it's been doable. And like they didn't want to buy a whole new headset just for the Xbox. I'm like, that's fine, totally understandable. Can't argue with that. So,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
Xbox is just they just have these like because I get this feeling like they have all these like little victories of winning hearts and minds. And it's like, yeah, I have a good feeling whenever Phil Spencer comes on. I have a good feeling about Xbox in some ways. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of cool. But when you get down to brass tacks and like actually pulling out your credit card, uh, there's just so many ways and reasons that they're just not there for me. And I always say this, but I'm just but like in Sony is like the opposite. Like Sony, not completely, but for the most part, I'm just like, yeah, you guys. There's a little bit of a sleaze factor there with Sony, or like we know we're the biggest in town, so you just gotta pony up the cash. I don't really like that aspect of it, but like they have the games that I want to play, and they have to me the better. I mean, to me it's the better system, I guess, because or the better subscription system, I guess, because of the games. If they do, that those weren't on there, then I probably would be like, yeah, this kind of sucks, or it wouldn't be as enticing. But it's just so weird because I just like Sony leaves a bad taste in my mouth a little bit, not real bad, but a little bit. Um, and Xbox it leaves a good taste in my mouth, but the core of it is just um, I guess this is the reason why Sony seems to be winning in that aspect. So
well, it's Sony's. The thing is, I think the problem with Sony is they do. All right, so I don't pay the extra. I don't pay for PlayStation Extra or Premium, and for that, I find that there's little to no value for the upgrade. I think that's a. I actually never really liked that deal, so I always thought it was a bad deal personally. Now, if there's something you want for a short time, it makes sense to maybe upgrade for a little bit. But once again, I usually bought for the year, and that's why I would just go with the basic PlayStation Plus. And it's one of those things that when you're looking at PC gaming versus console gaming, the idea of trying to like I can just try to imagine a world where Sony or Microsoft tried charging PC owners to play online together, because that'd be insane. But here on the consoles, they totally get away with it. They're like, yeah, you have to
I
pay
know,
us in order to play with your friends.
I know. I
So
always
it's one of
thought that
those.
was crazy, but yeah,
It is, and it was, and back in the day, it's like Sony was free, and everyone's like, yeah, well, Sony's free. I'm like, yes,
you get what you
I
pay
hate to
for
say
there.
it, but Microsoft, you get what you pay for, and it was actually a really smooth and integrated system. I mean, I just like literally just a few months ago, you finally got to do Discord on an actual app in Sony in PlayStation.
PlayStation 5,
Before you
yeah.
had to do this jump through these stupid hoops, and it was just ridiculous. When we tried playing Helldivers, it was not a convenient setup
No,
to have to do that. And but then just like the other month, they're like, yeah, you can now have an in app. I'm like, wait, why wasn't this set up forever ago? This It's ridiculous that
I know.
that wasn't a higher on your priority. So yes, it's very much an arcane, like old man Japan, like the old people running the system, like company. I feel like that's kind of the way that's set up. While Microsoft, I feel like the current heads have been making some really messed up decisions. I mean, they're trying to win hearts and minds in a way to be like, yeah, we bought these big companies, and now we have this, these big titles, but Diablo is nowhere near as big as it used to be. And you got stuff like Call of Duty, which is going to make them tons of money in the long run. But then I would actually rather have the old pay system and you know have a different tier for Activision Blizzard. Yeah, let me like
Honestly,
do
yeah,
almost do it all a cart, right? What game companies you want? Do you like then you can do like because honestly, it's you might as well have a cable package at this point. because everyone's doing their own streaming system. Everyone's doing their like they tried that. You remember Ubisoft and
Mhm.
EA were like you could pay for our stuff, and then eventually they started more and more merging. I'm not sure if you can still do any of those separate services.
Well, I
I think
mean,
EA might still run that.
eventually the Empire is going to drop the hammer on Activision. Probably they're going to drop it on Blizzard first because Blizzard tends to f up more often and bigger. But eventually, slowly over time, those companies are going to change into just Microsoft companies, um, or they're going to buy themselves out and return to. I could see Activision buying itself back and returning to independence. Um, but if they don't, I just really see them like I just see them kind of getting swallowed up and becoming not the same, maybe better, but probably worse. Worse for it because they don't have to survive, and they're going to have to start taking notes from the the heads at Microsoft. And I don't know. I mean, I know it's like people are worried about Xbox taking Activision away, taking Call of Duty away from the other systems. Uh, you know, but and if I was Sony, I would be trying to get a replacement in there. But also, if I was Sony, I'd be like, we can get a replacement, start working on one, get something out there, or get it ready, and hold it until the time is right and Microsoft reins in Call of Duty too much, and people have a big time where they're just upset about it. Um, and then we'll release our thing and we'll gain some steam, and then move forward off of that and slowly but surely kind of take that space back. I could definitely see that happening because I just and that's another thing is if I was a Call of Duty person, I honestly probably wouldn't be thinking about this nearly as much. To be honest, not to insult Call of Duty people, but I don't think that they really think about these things in the same way.
Well, I think Call of Duty people are still just going to straight up buy Call of Duty. I mean, that's the thing. It's like
Until it's
uh,
bad. I mean, like until it's bad, and then like once it's bad, they're gonna go away to something else. Um,
yeah. But
but
as far as relation to Game Pass goes, and like it's one of those things that I just think that the FTC doesn't really have. There's nothing for them to control because it's not a monopoly. Like, yes, they're controlling these companies, but at the same time, you don't have to have Game Pass. It's a subscription that you don't have to have. You can have a subscription to a magazine. Most people are like, why would you ever own a magazine in now day and age? But you can
yeah,
do the magazine subscription still.
that
Doesn't so just because someone raises the price on something doesn't make it like something warranting.
and
I mean, and it's just like do what I'm doing. Just don't renew
well,
your
I mean, the
like
FTC would
renew it when you
have
want to.
may end up having the last laugh here if in 5 years, Sony and PlayStation and Nintendo are smoldering craters of what they were, and Microsoft is riding high, and we're all just like bending the knee to like Phil Spencer, then I'll eat crow. But right now, the FTC's words are a little bit silly and they ring hollow because it's like they're losing, dude. I mean, they spend a lot of money. They have money printers. I get that, but like they've been losing, and they're just like in sports. There's times when franchises they just go out and they just buy the best players and they try to win that way. And sometimes it works, but almost always it freaking fails. And even if it works or if it fails in the near term, it always ends up costing huge amounts in the long term. And I just see the same thing happening with Microsoft. They are trying to buy success from other people who've created it instead of realizing, hey, we're the common denominator in why we're not doing well. We need to figure out how to do well as like in making a product, and then go out and buy a good studio like Activision or whatever and bring them in, or but because otherwise they're just going to fail. But you put something else on here that I did see also this week. I thought about putting it on here, but kind of a little deal here,
It
right?
goes in relation to what we're talking about right now, and
Yeah,
it's the fact that so the thing is Microsoft is trying to to spread as a wide of net as possible. Um, and then you're doing so but they're by increasing the pricing, they're going to scare more people away.
yeah,
And so you're making it more easily accessible. In this case, they're like, we now got it on a handful of Fire Sticks, the Fire Stick 4K, and like one other model, I think.
yeah.
So like now you can literally have this little Fire Stick, and it's already been on a few TVs as well. Like you could just play Game Pass if you subscribe to it, but now you're making it more expensive, which like there's there's never a world in which the best experience is going to of Game Pass is going to be on a Fire Stick, compared to a console or the PC. And to try to promote your like, I'm not looking. I don't know much about this firsthand or anything like that. I don't know any of that because like you're gonna presumably you're gonna dumb it down a whole lot, and you're gonna you got to make sure like you got to make sure it runs smoothly, but it's not going to be the most shiny and stuff like that. Like, so if you're going to be playing Halo or something like that, it's not going to be the best experience. And then you're making people pay more for it, and they're going to walk away from it. And especially if it's laggy for any reason, if it's spotty, they're going to walk away being like, "Man, it's a bad experience,"
So
and that's what you're going to leave people with.
I saw this deal because it was because Amazon Prime Day just happened 16th and 17th of July, and I saw this article I think in Kotaku or something where they said you can get you can go from basically zero. I guess you have to have a smart TV or whatever, but you can go from just having a smart TV to being able to play Xbox Game Pass for like $69. It was under 70, but it was under $70. And that included the Fire Stick, the month single month subscription, and then a controller. Um, and I was kind of like, that's sort of that's sort of genius. Um, I don't know how much it is normally, but even if it's maybe $100 or $120 or whatever, regardless, for the Prime Day deal, let's just take that. If I'm like if I'm a dad of like an 8 year old kid who comes home and is like, I want to play Call of Duty, but we don't have any systems or anything like that. The and he's like, I want to play Call of Duty. And it's like, well, we can't. I'm not spending $600 so you can play Call of Duty. Um, but if you can get the Fire Stick, which is useful in other ways, and then you're just out basically $70, and then 15 like every month until he gets tired of it, until you're like a little kid gets tired of it, then that's not bad. If it's like, well, if I can get this for my kid and it'll kind of shut him up, but it'll also, it'll also, maybe for his birthday or for something like that, make him happy or whatever. If I can get some dad points, that might be pretty worth it. And I'm kind of wondering if that's who that's really for. It's not for the grizzled veteran gamers that are here podcasting to you now. It's for getting total newbies in who don't really want to spend a whole lot on a console, and they're just like, well, I can use Fire Stick for other stuff, and I can experiment with this. I'm just wondering if that's the way that thinking was.
Yeah, and once again, though, I just don't see it really launching as the. It has to run very smooth. It has to run very solid, because
But
if
if you're a
there's
little
any hitching, if
kid
there's a lot of
and all your friends are already on, and you're just like, man, this isn't the best, but I can at least play with my friends. I'm just thinking for people that don't know, this might be who it's aimed at.
yeah, it's but it seems like they're going for the most. Their current marketing strategy seems to be, let's make this cheaper and like more accessible. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the whole Series S, idea. Because it's a smaller box, it takes up far less space. It lets you, and the target can easily be for like a university student or something like that. It's a lot easier to put in your dorm.
Yeah.
Things like that nature, and you're playing on a smaller monitor, smaller TV, or something like that. You're not playing it on the big screen. Then yeah, something like that is a better unit. And to but yeah, they're trying to get it everywhere. And like Phil Spencer said, the idea of pretty much using any like handheld device as a Xbox device, thanks to Game Pass and such. That is theoretically their end goal. Have it everywhere, like an Apple service or something like that. Like music service or anything like Spotify.
Yeah.
If you can have it on all devices, then they might have. I think that might be their idea of a win, but at what cost? And to try to make things, like I said, if you have it on a Fire Stick, you should have it cheaper. Like you should
Mm.
totally have it cheaper. Get them like an easier barrier to entry. Now, anyways, I'm kind of like I said, I've just been more disappointed the more I've tried renewing and looking into this. Um, I still think it's a very good deal, especially if you don't have a lot of games, because it really helps like minimize. And if you think about it, if you're just going to spend prior, it was a better deal. But if you only have so much money to spend per year on new hardware, new games, uh, that's it makes it more and more difficult the more you up the price. It's one of those things that I argue. Well, the cost of an upgrade to a disc version of a system, whether it be the Xbox Series X or the PlayStation with disc, um, I said the value is easily there the moment I go to the library and check out a few games. I've beaten a handful, and then boom, I've already made up the money I would have spent buying that physical copy of a game that maybe I wasn't 100% into, but I
Yeah.
was giving it a shot, and I could give it a shot because of that. So yes. Anyways, yeah, we'll see how this FTC thing plays out. Once again, I just think the price hike, having been a week removed from the news now, from when you first brought it up last time, uh, it's it didn't bother me as much then, but then trying to renew and trying to figure out, and then like the fact that you just can't buy a year from them directly, is rush. It is just like why that is straight anti-consumer.
Yeah,
Like we
you
want you to
can't
spend
get a
monthly.
discount for loyalty, like extended, trying to buy in bulk, trying to like, well, I don't want to mess with this, but you're going to make me mess with this and think about it. Cause like, even if like at the very least, what you're buying from a year subscription is, I don't have to think about this again for a year. I might pay more in the upfront if I can save 5 or 10% or hopefully more than 20%. Then that is better. But at the very least, I don't have to think about it. But if now every single month that I'm looking at my budget and I'm like, man, I could just cancel Xbox and save $20 or however much they're charging, then I am just like I'm probably not going to do it, but that third or fourth month I might just do it. Just I don't have to think about it anymore. If I'm just like, well, I only play like one game at the beginning of the month, so I'm just going to cancel it. It's just irritating, and that's
Yeah,
what you don't
I
want to
mean,
be.
it also depends on where you live too, I suppose, because where I live, I have easy access
It,
to multiple libraries
yeah,
and a good network, so I can get a lot of newer stuff
and
relatively quick, or at least just be on a waiting list and just get it in about a month.
see,
But then when it comes to
and
if you're in the middle of nowhere, like that's where Game Pass is a little more clutch for you,
yeah,
instead of having to buy a fresh new game. And I mean, they kind of got you by the ropes there, but for me, it's just like I don't need Game Pass. If there's something I really want to play,
hmm
then I'll go ahead and get it at that time.
yeah,
Or if there's, I'll worry about it. I'll worry about it if a bunch of my buddies are like this new game that is only available on Xbox. Then yes,
yeah,
sure. But chances are, thanks to Microsoft, most of the games that are on Xbox are also on PC,
yeah.
and then we're probably gonna just
Which
get it
is
on PC.
baffling that they put everything like when I saw Gears 5 or whatever, was it like just like on PC like the same day? I was just like, what? Why? Like, why don't they at least try to protect their IP? This just I just thought of this. It just it just reminds me of Walmart. All of this stuff just reminds me of like a Walmart mentality, which works really well for Walmart. I mean, like when you don't want to think about the trash can that you're going to put in your bathroom because the other one got vomited in and ruined, or you need like paper towels or something like that, Walmart is great, you know, and you don't care that it's inconvenient. You don't care that it's packed and that like it's whatever. You just need something now and you need it cheap. Like that's great. But when you need to rely on a service for your entertainment, I don't think I really want to go to Walmart. You know, I'm from Arkansas and we did that in high school, but I'm a grown man now and I just I just don't want to go to Walmart for my entertainment. And I just feel like that's what Xbox is doing. But anyway,
All right. Well, more about Microsoft, but on a different news topic. What do you got for us?
more Microsoft in the news. Paramount is canceling the Halo show after 2 seasons. Xbox is looking for a new home for the show. Um, I have heard from people that mostly do not play video games that it is a pretty good show. Um, that it is a bit of a slower burn or took a little bit longer to get started. I have heard from one person I know for sure. I can remember for sure that plays games that really liked the show. I definitely thought about watching it. It never it never got to the point where I was like, I'm gonna watch it. So I never did. Um, so yeah, I think it's I think this is probably the Paramount's gonna do what they're gonna do. I kind of would like Halo to continue to exist as a show, but not like in a really significant way. I just it kind of surprised me that it has lasted this long. I know it's only been 2 seasons, but I feel like there was like a break in those seasons. I could be wrong. I don't know, but I feel like the show's been around for years, like more than 2 years.
It shows, according to what I looked up, it was supposed to be. It came out in 2022,
Okay,
the end of
the
March.
first one, the first
So,
season.
first episode date.
Okay, I thought it'd been around for like
So
3 or 4 years, but okay.
the confusion comes in, and I had this confusion as well, is because when Xbox One first came out, they were trying to make that multimedia platform and everything like that. They were supposed to be getting like big name directors. They did a mini series and some other stuff. So like they've made small form content
I
back
saw some of that
then,
stuff, and that
and so it
I mean,
probably just muddles into.
it does kind of, but I could have sworn I guess I could have sworn that like in like maybe I was hearing about it for a long time and that's why. But okay, so 2 seasons, 2 years. I guess that makes sense. Um, but yeah, it didn't seem to me to really be striking the zeitgeist anywhere near a show like Fallout, of course, but even I mean, Last of Us was actually also really big too. I kind of wonder if Paramount is just kind of looking at Halo and then looking at those other shows, and they're like, we have the wrong show, we have the wrong video game show. You know, we're gonna get rid of you guys, and we're gonna get somebody else in here that can do a video game show that's better. But
Well,
maybe I don't know.
I feel it's a little late on the Halo bandwagon too, and Halo's at its all time. I feel it's the all
Low,
time low it's
yeah.
been. So trying to, like trying to have that synergy. And now if Halo Infinite like kicked off real well and like was super strong, was I there at launch, it was didn't completely like mess up, then I feel like the show would have had a lot more weight behind it. But unfortunately, more and more people, it's less interesting, and I haven't played a Halo since Halo Reach, so
Mm.
I don't think I played 4. So yeah, I'm behind as well. So I don't know where the story has gone since.
I mean, speaking of
Um,
Paramount, it seems more like a movie to me. Like that story, at least one of those games, or like half of a game or something like that. It just seems like you'd want big action, big set pieces. You're not really. I mean, Halo's story is good and the books are all good and stuff like that or whatever. But I feel like the common man is not going to Halo for the dialogue. You know, it can be good, that's fine. But to me, they should have gone with a legit movie with a legit actor that is a, star, rising star, Chris Evans or Chris Hemsworth or one of the other 50 Chris's that has a chiseled jaw and blonde hair, and turn them
Don't
into
matter because they're going to be behind a mask the entire time, anyways. It's just
something like that. That seems like it would make more sense to me. But I understand that it just Halo just kind of came out just a little bit too early. I think if it hadn't existed and everything else had happened just the way it has, I think Paramount would be jumping on it even more than they did in the first place. And it would probably be a much better show coming out now because they would have an idea of like, okay, this is what people are willing to watch. This is what, is good. And we can hit the zeitgeist now. And I just think they kind of were too early. But anyway.
all right. What else you got for us?
So game sales stay strong in Europe despite fewer AAA releases. They're still down, but they're only down like 1.6% or something. I forget the exact number, but it's not a big number that they're down. And I don't know if this is really a good thing. I'm trying to decide. It may just be a whatever thing, but part of me thinks that it's bad because if studios are not going to put out AAA game releases, I'm just like, why is the consumer not punishing that? On the other hand, it could be just that the AA or less than AAA indie games are so good, and there's also so many that it is helping to balance out, and that might be a good thing. But I don't know. I feel like AAA game releases, whether you play them or not, I do feel like they push the medium forward. By showing like, hey, this is what you can do. This is like the furthest reaches. So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence there. I could see it being a good thing. I could see it being a maybe not so good thing. And I just wanted to know what you thought about it.
I don't see the problem. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, it's just like, well, if you're looking at overall money spent, there are more people making games more than ever.
Yeah.
Now,
So that
so the
yeah.
fact is, if they're coming out with a bunch of um, AAA games in a single year, if you had the new Grand Theft Auto and say something like the new Zelda in the same year. Those not that would be an epic year, and you'll see a whole bunch more sales. I mean, so all it means is just because with the absence of AAA games, you're still getting a lot. You're getting, in fact, you're getting the medium is better than ever, which is a good sign. That's the way I see it there. Now, as far as AAA games, yes, there is an importance for AAA games, but you got to realize um, they take like everyone's now accepted the fact that they take longer because no one wants
Yep.
to force other people to work in sweatshops. That's why everyone's anti-crunch. But now it's like, and so now you're getting people complaining about how long it takes to make games. But they're like, well, okay, what is it then? You want them to make games quicker, or do you want to have more crunch? Because deep down, what you're saying is you want more crunch, but you just don't want to be the person who says, yes, I want you guys to suffer and have really miserable jobs and lives for the next handful of years to give me my entertainment. Um, no one wants to be caught saying that, but everyone's been dancing around that topic for feels like a while now, and it's just like, yes, it takes a while to make a new game, but also technology hasn't really been jumping forward in the leaps and bounds it did in the past.
Yeah.
It's now, different shaders of light and color, but it's very small increments of things. That's why people who like old games, will like often talk about stuff like physics, physics, the ability to hit someone and watch them ragdoll, and or the to really buckle down on where you hit someone and how they actually react. And now you don't really worry about that stuff. Like, yes, you shoot a couple rocks and it'll fall down the hill, but it's not the true physics, like an actual engine that used to be running in the background to for all that stuff. Um, they've made a lot. They don't make the things as bespoke as they used to. But you know what? That's
That's true.
fine. So long as you're still making entertaining things, I think you'll have the double A people. Some indie devs go the extra mile for something that they feel is a passion project, and that's great. That's where they can fill in that niche. Um, but as far as like, yes, it's been forever since we got a new Elder Scrolls game, and all they're doing is rehashing, Skyrim for the upteenth time.
Yeah.
Yes, that's annoying, um, but also at the same time, a lot of people can't afford to staff up to run multiple teams because you've seen what happens when that happens. Like when the game, because then they overextend themselves, almost like a Ponzi scheme or something like that, where we are now super in debt, and then the success of this one game has to be able to be enough to pay for the other game that we're also super in debt about. And at the moment one collapses, then both collapse. Well, you're better off than just only focusing on one and not overextending yourself. And hopefully, even if it does take, even if it's not as big of a success as you thought it was going to be, at least you might not shutter your doors right away. You might be
Yeah.
able to then, present the new docket for the next game, and maybe find enough funding for, like, but
You're
you
kind
won't
of
have to
right.
necessarily
Have you ever
fire
played?
everyone.
Have you ever played Game Dev Tycoon?
Nope.
Because that's
I
basically
know of
what
it, but I
happens
haven't
in
played it
Game
yet.
Dev Tycoon
Okay.
is you have to make games and you know have a success and then you have to basically make the same thing again and again and again, but not so much if you try to branch out too much and you have a failure, but basically, yeah, you have to use old games to pay for new games and hope that you don't have a failure. So yeah, there probably is something like that, but yeah, I mean, like the game sales, I did kind of forget while I was reading this article that there are more developers, more indie games than ever before. So I do kind of wonder if this is sort of actually worse as far as game sales. I guess some kind of true number of game sales, because the number of games coming out is higher with fewer AAA releases, and that number of games that are coming out is kind of inflating or propping up the overall sales number when it really should be even higher than it actually is, or it would be lower than it is. I don't know how you want to say that, but so yeah, but you're right. Like there's probably a good thing about it. Times have changed. You can't make people work 24 hours a day. You can't make people do 120-hour weeks anymore, like the good old days. Um, so, I mean, it's just like it just kind of is. Like I figured when all this crunch stuff was going on, that there would be a knock-on effect where we did start to see slowdown of games and stuff like that. That was in the back of my mind. I don't really think it's really like affected me. It's not like I'm want for a ton of stuff to play. My backlog is
Well,
as
you,
long
you're
as ever.
not you're not because so many other people, indies and other people are making games left and right. That's the thing,
Yeah,
is if you didn't have them, then you would really be chomping at the bit for a new AAA title. But there's
yeah,
plenty of games that aren't, but that's the other thing too. A lot of AAA games, not only are you expecting the AAA speckle, but you're also expecting the AAA length, the value for your money, everything else. But while other games can be cheaper, and be like, well, this isn't a 30-40 hour game. This is just a 5 to 10 hour game, and it provides you with enough entertainment for that's your joy for the week or 2 weeks that you get a chance to play with, and then you move on.
yeah.
But it really hits all the same highs.
Or a 40-hour game that doesn't have like 50 million tokens on the map for you to go explore and figure out. Like, I mean, I appreciate the value for money, but that is one thing that does irritate me about AAA games is all the junk that you just have to do um, to get like a reasonably good idea of what the game is. I mean, you can mainline a lot of games, but even then, mainlining games, you still have to spend like you still, unless you play it on easy, if there even is an easy mode, there are still so it's still hard to not do the extra stuff and be powerful enough to just go through the game. You pretty much always have to like, do this or do that, and it's weird, but that is something that I don't really miss about AAA games. Yeah, I don't know. It's it's a weird world now. Definitely not like the one that we grew up in. But I don't know. Then again too. I'm thinking like we're only halfway through the year. All of the biggest releases come out at the end of the year, so all the AAA releases are still yet to come, pretty much. So I'm kind of now the more I think about this article, I'm just like I wonder if this article is just stupid. Uh, anyway.
You got us talking about it, so
Well,
yeah.
yeah, but like, yeah, I mean, it's worth talking about, even if it is stupid. I'm just kind of wondering if it's like, is this just a headline because of a number? But when you really think about what's going on in the world and how like the game world really works, does this matter at all in multiple levels? And that is actually uh, kind of more interesting to me, but that'll be a mystery for another time.
Okay. All right. Well, what else we got on the news docket?
Two more little things. Joy-Con, they made a Joy-Con standalone charger, so you can charge your Joy-Con while you're playing with your Joy-Con. This is all for Nintendo stuff, and I'm just like, why now? Like, why not 4 years ago?
Ori
And
made one, like made that accessory forever ago. Like forever ago. Just it's a stand. You talking about just a dock to charge your Joy Cons? Is that what we're talking about here?
but it's different. It's same
Okay,
but different.
I haven't actually seen this, so I have no idea. But like, if it's a standalone thing to just charge extra Joy Cons, that has existed since the beginning or very early.
It's a new two-way stand for Switch. A new two-way Joy-Con charging stand for Nintendo Switch. It can charge while docked. It doesn't say it's replacing anything. It just says, I guess it is. I guess it's another one. It's going to cost $21. Uh, it's acting like it's new. The article
Okay.
is, um, but yeah. So,
I'm fairly confident that the company Hori had made these in the past, but maybe
well,
if it was just a
Hori might
stand,
have
just a
made.
little.
Well, other companies have made this. I'm just wondering why Nintendo, because it's a Nintendo official Nintendo stand, and
Yeah, but they don't care. What about like the thing is a lot of the accessories in when it comes to a lot of the things conveniences and for everyday use of life, I feel like they don't like to put the time and effort and R&D, and they don't want to sit on any warehouse of stuff.
yeah,
At least that's always the excuse of not buying a lot of consoles for like since the Wii. They're like, well, we don't want to have a warehouse full of consoles. I'm
yeah,
like, your stuff is brand new. You should always have a warehouse full of consoles. I understand if you're in year 4 and you don't want to have a full warehouse full of spare consoles just sitting on them, but in the beginning you're going to sell out. So that excuse never held water for me.
yeah,
But like when it comes to these accessories, they're like, well, other people, it's like third party controllers. It's like they
yeah,
could make their own third party or like lesser controller, I should say. They can make a lesser controller that doesn't have rumble, that doesn't have a few features, but makes it a whole lot cheaper. But they're like, no, you come to us like Apple products for the premium feel.
yeah.
Like here's their controller, their wireless controller is good for what it is, but it's just like, yeah, but you're charging way too much for it. You're like, yes, but
Well,
it's like
the
it has our Nintendo
PlayStation
seal of
controller
approval.
is
Just
doing.
don't trust any thumbsticks.
I mean,
You know.
the PlayStation controller is the same price, and it's doing a lot more. I think you could say maybe it's slightly more rinky dink because it's doing more. But I think that they're the same build quality, so that is kind of. I guess you're just paying for the for the Nintendo seal of quality on the back,
You know,
but
some people are just don't like third party stuff. That's the thing.
and,
Some people still
and
feel
I
like,
get,
you know,
yeah,
it's back in the day, that's how I would feel. Like,
the
oh no,
Mad
it's a Mad
Cats,
Cats or
yeah,
something like that. Then, you know, but eventually Mad Cats became a better known quantity. They made the fighting sticks that people turned to, you know. But back
they
in the day,
did,
it was
yeah,
like Mad Cats was the bargain garbage bin stuff. And
yeah,
you would just throw a Mad Cats controller at a person when I was working at GameStop. Like, I know you just bought all your stuff. You bought your brand new console, you bought your memory card, you bought your, you know, and then now you're gonna have to shell out for another really good controller, or how about we just recommend this really junky one? Like, this is the one you give to your friends when you play together, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah,
Um,
I'm just
yeah.
thinking that like Nintendo, like there's a lot of games coming out for Switch and stuff like that, and then there's random Joy-Con standalone charger, and I'm just thinking that the Switch 2 is really right around the corner, like we kind of all know that it is, but like it really is this time, and they're just letting out that they know that they have it in the bag, and they're just letting out all the stuff that they were gonna be slow playing. Um, just letting it all out now because there's no other time. So they're releasing this. I'm just like why this? Why now? Hori's been doing it. Other companies have done this. Why just this rinky dink little extra charger with that? It's just baffling to me. Last
The only thing I can say is if it's somehow it's connected to you can do Joy Cons on the new Switch too, or something.
that
Like
was my
they're
other
doing
thought.
the forward play is being like, hey, this will be compatible, or you're going to be using these things, kind of like how PlayStation extended the life of their Move controllers to
Mm,
PSVR one.
yeah,
They're like, yeah, we're gonna somehow like we have all these
we
controllers that
have
we never
literally
used
5
before,
million.
and then we're just gonna make this work and jerry again. Like it worked. The PSVR one was okay, but it wasn't. But it was like you're totally just reusing this old tech that shouldn't be reused at all.
I mean, between
So
that and VR, PSVR one not existing, that's you got to count your lucky stars there. But yeah,
and I enjoyed my time with it. But yeah, so I'm hoping that maybe the Joy Cons are forward compatible in some way.
and that
You know,
might
maybe they don't have the full features, but maybe they have at least maybe they're just usable, and that'll be fine because you may not want this console, but you can at least maybe that'll be your second party controller. I don't know.
that might be even worse, honestly, because that might just be like if the old Joy Cons will work on a new console, I question it. Probably is fine, probably fine, but that would just make me nervous about the leap forward that we're taking in technology, which I know it's Nintendo, but uh, I don't know. We'll have to see. I'll burn that bridge when we come to it. Last thing, Disney had a 1 terabyte data leak. Uh, the weird thing is that the leakers didn't seem to want anything. They had some sort of activism message about something that I don't remember. It's been a couple of days since I read this. I just wanted to mention it because that's weird. So check your Disney passwords and change them if you feel like it.
Was there any other than personal? Was this all personal information? Was there anything else to it? Was it like the up and coming lists, or what was the like the
It
whole bit about it?
it wasn't anything that I saw in the article that made me think was immediately interesting. Um, so I think it was like in credit card information or something like that. I know the leakers had said something about they wanted to expose what Disney was doing with your information. It is some sort of activism, like look at the big bad company doing bad stuff with your info or something like that. But I could be wrong about that too. I just this was earlier in the week when I was looking for news. I was like, that's kind of interesting. Less interesting now, uh, but maybe a bit of a PSA.
Okay. Well, I know you wanted to make this a little shorter cast, so I'm giving you the option now. Do you want to continue or do you want to go through?
I think uh, I think we bail.
Okay,
I think we bail.
that's fine.
We've got a clean
Uh,
hour, tight 60.
all right. Yeah, let's go ahead and then we'll just edit the part out.
No, we can keep it in.
All right, then I'll. Well, like I said, I know you're the one who's gonna have to do the stuff for it. So, all right. Well, unfortunately, all right. So we're keeping this a close, shorter episode today. Nick has things to do and places to be. Yep. So we're gonna go ahead and let him have his freedom. Don't want to do too much crunch on that end. And all right. Well, Nick, as always, what are the words of wisdom you have for the people out there?
Write a letter to Phil Spencer expressing your gratitude and maybe politely, not with any kind of violence or anything like that. Maybe some things that you think that he could do to run Xbox better.
That would be interesting to see.
Very
Uh,
nicely, very politely. And
but make them handwritten letters.
yeah,
Make them
the handwritten letters. It's a lot
physical
harder.
handwritten letters.
It's very hard to use expletives when you're writing a handwritten letter. It just doesn't feel right. Just man, it's just more personal. Um, and Phil Spencer loves to get those, so um, that's my advice.
Show them a photo of the families, your families, or
Yeah,
don't have to be your family, just a family, just families in
show him
general.
pictures of
Make it
his
seem like these are the
family.
people who are affected by them.
Tell him you know where his kids go to school.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yes.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that.
Give them a photo of Nick and be like, "This is the hitman
Oh, gosh.
guy."
Clearly just a screenshot from YouTube. But that probably would that'd probably give us some views. It'd probably go viral.
Yeah,
And then
too
a
bad we don't
SWAT
get monetized. But if we did, we'd get demonetized in a heartbeat.
Oh gosh, what if a SWAT team kicking down my door?
Oh
Dang it,
yes.
my dang podcast again. Anyway, that's my words of wisdom, I guess.
All right. Well, this has been another Dead Pixel, episode 84. And once again, thank you all. And until next time, take it easy.
Bye.